Good morning, students. We are going to start new chapter of NCERT, that is chapter 7, Control and Coordination. Students, this chapter is really very important from examination point of view. So go through each and every slide very carefully and pen down important keywords and points. Let's begin. First of all, we need to understand when we talk about control and coordination, specifically in human, it comprises of two systems. First is nervous system and endocrine system. Nervous system again comprises of neurons or nerve cells along with two important structure, that is brain and spinal cord. Endocrine system comprises of all sort of hormonal secretion in the body which is going to coordinate all of the physiological activities in the organism. So why do we need control and coordination? As you know, when the complexity in the hierarchy of the living system is going to be increases, we need various activity to be controlled as well as coordinated to achieve highest specialization. It becomes necessary to have a system by which the different parts of the organism can function in a single unit. So various parts are going to be coordinate along with each other to perform a particular function. The second most important point is the homeostasis. When we talk about homeostasis, it refers to constant internal environmental condition which are going to be maintained so that various physiological activities like digestion, respiration can be performed in a coordinated manner. When we talk about homeostasis and constant environmental condition, it refers to the maintenance of a constant temperature, osmotic balance, and supply of various nutrients. So this need to be at the constant level to achieve all the physiological activity in a coordinated manner. So let's see one example. So we have a clear-cut understanding about control and coordination. When an organism or any human being is going to rise or pick any object from the ground, the various organs like eyes, hands, legs, and vertebral columns are going to be perform the function in a coordinated way. Your eye is going to see the object and analyze the distance between you and the object, and your hands along with vertebral column moves downward to pick the object in the upward direction. So various organs are going to be participate in a very controlled and coordinated manner to lift a single object from the ground. So that's how all of the system being coordinated along with the control, basic control from the brain and spinal cord is going to help you out to pick object in the upward direction. Now comes to the nervous system. When the term nervous system comes to your mind, it talks about neurons and nerve cells. So neurons and or nerve cells are the synonyms. Wherever the word neurons is being mentioned, the it also refers to nerve cells. It's going to detect, receive, and transmit different kind of stimuli. When we talk about stimuli, it refers to any sensing of the external environmental condition. So neurons are going to detect the external environmental condition and receive the signal and transmit it to the central processing unit of our body, that is brain. The nerve fibers, which are bundles of extended processes of the nerve cells, are going to perform all of the functions in a very coordinated sequential manner. Now comes to the structure of nerve cells or neurons. As I told you, nerve cells or neurons means the same thing. So these are the structural and functional unit of the nervous system. Billions of nerve cells make up our brain, and the three main structures of the nerve cell or neuron is the cell body, axon, and dendrites. Cell body. It is a cell structure, irregular shape or polyhedral shape. It is also sometimes referred as cytoplasm. Cell body contains cytoplasm along with various cell organelles. Dendrites. Dendrites are the short fibers or the branch repeatedly projected out from the cell body or cytosol. Dendrites transmit electrical impulses towards the cytosol. Now comes to the axonal part. Axonal part is one of the fiber going to be rise from the cell body in a very long or distal branch to the ant, which is referred as axon. Axon contains exoplasm and it is going to be covered with a membrane that is referred as neurilemma. Then what is nerve impulse? How nerve cells are going to transmit information from one end to the another end. This is refers to the conduction of stimuli by the nerve cell, which is referred as nerve impulse. The dendrites will receive the stimuli from the receptor, that is sense organ, and conduct that same electrical impulse to the axonal part. And from axon, another dendrites is going to be attached, and that's how the series of neurons are well connected with each other. At the synapse, what is synapse? A synapse is refers to the junction where the nerve cell is going to connect with another neuron, or nerve cell is going to be connected with the muscle. So synapse, the synaptic nerve releases out chemical signals in the terms of neurotransmitter, which are going to convert the electrical impulse into the chemical impulse and passes it to the neighboring cells. So that's how the synapse is going to help out in transmitting signals from nerve to nerve cell, or from uh, nerve cells to a muscle cells, or any of the cells which is being in concentration. Okay, so first of all, chemical substances are going to be passed, that is neurotransmitter, and they are going to convert the electrical impulse which actually travels into the nerve cells into the chemical signals and transmit to the neighboring neuron or any of the muscles or any type of the tissue which is being in the concentration. So synapse basically refers to the transmission of impulses from one end to the another end. Now comes to the types of neuron. We have basically three types of neuron. These are sensory neuron, motor neuron, and relay neuron. You have great idea in the class 9th as well. We are just recapitulating all of the details once again, so you have clear-cut understanding for the concept. These neurons, sensory neurons, receive signals from a sense organ. As the word suggests, motor neurons going to send signals to the muscles or the gland. Relay neurons are going to pass on the information from sensory neurons to the motor neuron and vice versa. So that's the structure of the sensory neuron. You can easily see they are going to receive the signal from the sensory organ, from your skin, from your eyes, any sense organ. Okay, relay neurons are going to transfer signals between sensory organ and motor neuron. Now comes to the motor neuron. You can see a lot of dendritic structure in this, and here you can easily recognize that is going to send signal to the muscle or any of the gland. Now comes to the nervous system. Nervous system basically comprises of two systems, that is central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system is the main processing unit of our body, that is brain and spinal cord. Now comes to the peripheral nervous system, that comprises of cranial nerves, spinal nerves, peripheral or visceral nerves. We are going to discuss about each and every component one by one. First of all, we need to understand central nervous system. You can see over here, central nervous system is engaged in skull, which is also referred as cranium. And here is the spinal cord, which is very well protected by the vertebral column. And central nervous system comprises of relay neurons. Relay neurons also referred as interneurons because they are going to transmit information from sensory neurons to motor neurons and vice versa. Now comes to the peripheral nervous system, abbreviated as PNS, comprises of cranial nerves, spinal nerves, and peripheral nerves. You can see all of the light yellow color structure which is branching out from the spinal cord, from the brain. These are all sort of nerves. These are cranial nerves, spinal nerves, peripheral nerves. Here you can see the nerves which are arising from the brain are referred as cranial nerves. Here you can see, and spinal nerves are arising from the spinal cord, and peripheral nerves are also referred as visceral nerves. These nerves are present inside the internal organs of the body like heart, lungs. These nerves are intact over there. Peripheral nervous system or PNS comprises of sensory neurons and motor neurons. Central nervous system basically comprises of two parts, that is brain and spinal cord. As I have told you that the brain is located inside the skull or cranium, and it is the main control unit of our body. Now comes to the second main important control unit of our body, that is the spinal cord. It is a very thick nerve which run inside the cavity of the backbone, and as I told you, spinal cord is very well protected inside the vertebral column. Now comes to the peripheral nervous system. The brain and spinal cord are connected to various sense organ and other parts of the body with the help of various nerves that control autonomic and voluntary action. I'm going to explain a little bit about autonomic and voluntary action. Autonomic means that are not under the control of your wish, like your breathing rate, your heartbeat, your digestive process, that is not under your control. And voluntary action like stretching of your hands, walking movement, talking movement, these are all under your own control. So these are referred as voluntary actions or voluntary control action. So, peripheral nervous system comprises of cranial nerves, spinal nerve, visceral nerves, or peripheral nerves. Cranial nerves, as I have told you, directly comes to the brain, and spinal nerves that connect all of the remaining body part like muscles, skin to the spinal cord, and visceral nerves going to connect the various internal organ of the body to the CNS. One most important fact we have to study, that is reflex action. Reflex action is involuntary movement. Please highlight this word, that is involuntary movement in voluntary organs. That is not under your control but happens into the voluntary organs like your limbs, hands and legs. When a voluntary organ is in the vicinity of danger or sudden danger, it is immediately pulled away from the danger to save itself. That is what reflex action talks about. Like when you are going to touch any of the hot electric iron or gas stove, you move away your hand in a jerk, in a very sudden position. Okay, all of this happen in flash, and your hand is saved from the imminent injury. And that's how our nervous system is going to sense the danger and keeps our body out of it, especially the limbic part, that is voluntary part of the body, and that is not directly under the control of brain, but it is communicated through the spinal cord. Okay, spinal cord is also the part of CNS, but here the brain is not going to participate directly. It is going to be participate via spinal cord. As you can see over here, this butterfly structure is the spinal cord, and here you can see, first of all, the sensory organ, that is your skin, going to sense the heat, and sensory neurons are going to transmit signal to the spinal cord, and from spinal cord, here relay neurons are going to transmit signal in between them, and finally from spinal cord the motor neuron is going to send the signal to your hand, the touch part of the hand, to stay away from the hot. Okay, and then after the signal, that whole process is going to send to the brain. So that's why after some time you realize what actually happened, because it takes time to transmit signal from the spinal cord to the brain. Okay, here, reflex arc, the path through which nerve signals involved in a reflex section and travel, that is referred to the reflex arc. First of all, stimulus should be there. As you can see, stimulus means sensing of any of the danger, and the receptor part is going to activate it and sending signal through the sensory neuron. Then interneuron in the spinal cord going to be activated and transmit information to the motor neuron, and motor neuron to the effector part, effector which is going to response actually, and that's produces response ultimately. Okay, so stimulus have some response also via spinal cord. Now this is the stepwise series of the reflex action. First of all, arrival of stimulus and activation of receptor, then activation of the sensory neuron, then here dorsal root of the spinal cord, which is going to be connected with the organ. And here you can see the third step, that is information processing in the CNS, and that information is going via relay neurons, and activation of the motor neurons of the effector side, and then finally the response from the effector is being achieved. Here two root systems are being presented, that is dorsal and ventral. Dorsal and ventral actually the part of the spinal cord. Dorsal means your back part of the bone, and ventral, that is inner part of the backbone or inner part of the spinal cord. Reflex arc passes at the level of the spinal cord, and the signals involved in the reflex action do not travel directly to the brain. As I've told you, this is important because sending signals to the brain will involve a lot of time, and that's not going to help you out to protect from the danger. Although every action is ultimately controlled by the brain, the reflex action is mainly controlled at the level of the spinal cord, and thereafter the signal is going to be sent to the brain uh, after the response. Okay, now comes to the human brain. Human brain is a highly complex organ composed of nervous tissue. The tissues are highly folded into a very less space, and brain is going to comprises of three layers, and these layers are referred as meninges. And meninges are filled with cerebrospinal fluid, that is CSF. Okay, this CSF is going to provide a cushion like structure to the brain to protect any sort of mechanical injury. Okay, when you fall on the ground, your brain is not going to be affected as because there is a protective skull is there, and as a shock absorber, or there is a fluid that is referred as cerebrospinal fluid. Okay, so brain is comprises of three main important part, that is forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Here you can see forebrain comprises of again three important part, that is cerebrum, thalamus and hypothalamus. Midbrain, for class 10 there is no subdivision of the midbrain, but in hindbrain again we have three main important components. These are cerebrum, and pons along with medulla oblongata. This diagram is very very important from examination point of view. In 2018, this diagram has been asked, so you can understand the importance of this diagram. Here you can see the cerebrum part is here along with hypothalamus, and in upper side is the thalamus section, and here you can see the middle section that is referred as midbrain, pons, medulla, and cerebellum. These are the part of hindbrain. You can see they are the stalk-like structure, but cerebellum is a somewhere fan-like structure. We commonly refer cerebellum as a fan-like structure. You can see it. It looks like more like a fan. Okay, so for the very first time, this diagram is going to be really difficult for you, but as you draw it twice or thrice, you will be quite familiar with each and every component of the brain. And please don't distort the shape of the brain. This is more like spherical, so you have to draw in a spherical manner, not in a rectilinear manner. Okay. Now comes to the muscular movement and nervous control. As we have seen that when we detect danger in front of us, our limbic system, that is our hand and our legs, are going to respond to such sort of danger. That is with the help of spatial filaments being present in the muscles tissue. These are actin and myosin. Okay, actin and myosin you have read in class 9. When a muscle receives a nerve signal, a series of events is going to be triggered in the muscle. And most important thing, that calcium ion going to enter into the muscle cells, and it result in the actin and myosin filaments sliding towards each other, and ultimately led to the muscle contraction. Contraction in the muscle brings movement of the related organ nearby. Here, some of the important parts of the brain has been discussed along with the function, and these functions are very very important from MCQ point of view. So you have to remember the function of each and every part. First of all, look at the beautiful animation over here. This is the cerebrum, looks like, and this is the brain stem. The yellow part is the thalamus, and this orange section is the hypothalamus. Okay, so we are going to discuss about cerebrum first. Cerebrum is the largest part of the human brain, comprises of two hemispheres, that is left and right. Here you can easily recognize in the animation as well. It comprises of two hemispheres, and functions of cerebrums are controls voluntary motor action, that is the action which are under your wish. These are being controlled by cerebrum, along with tactile and auditory perception. Please pen down what is tactile. Tactile means related to touch. Anything, any sense related to touch, along with hearing perception, is being sensed by cerebrum. It is a seat of learning and memory. All sort of learning and memory, along with the recalling power, is done by the cerebrum, like thinking process, conscious thought, problem solving, analytical capabilities, language, learning, decision making, everything is done by cerebrum. Now comes to the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus lies at the base of the cerebrum. It controls sleep and wake cycle, which is also referred as circadian rhythm of the body, is being controlled by hypothalamus. And students, I want to add one more point, that is feeling of fullness. That when you have eat a lot, the feeling of fullness is also being controlled by forebrain. Okay. Next is cerebellum. Now you're quite familiar with the fan-shaped structure, that is cerebellum. Cerebellum is the part of hindbrain, and it lies below to the cerebrum and at the back of whole structure. It controls motor action, whatever being coordinated activity, it is being achieved by cerebellum. When you are riding your bicycle, the perfect coordination between paddling and steering is controlled by cerebellum. And cerebellum also important to maintain the posture of the body. Okay, so please write down this important point, that posture of the body is also being maintained by the cerebellum. Now comes to the medulla. Medulla forms the brainstem, and along with the bones, as you can see, this is the brainstem. Okay, so it lies at the base of the brain and continues to the spinal cord. Medulla controls various involuntary actions like heartbeat, respiration, blood pressure, salivation, along with the vomiting. Okay, so these things are going to be controlled by medulla. That's all for today. Thank you, students.